If you live in any part of the world where you experience the season of fall, then this video is for you. My name is Achua, and I hope this video finds you well. Normally, a lot of people go with their heavy fragrances during the season of fall and winter. I have some amazing recommendations that I feel are going to cut through the colder months. They are going to smell amazing. That are not going to be cloying at all. So these are my recommendations that I have. The first is going to be a fragrance that even the original one wasn't received so well. I know a lot of people didn't necessarily receive Lee's Oudgasm Vanilla Oud 36 so well, but I would love for you to try the dupe from Valor if you want something much more affordable. It's going to be a great way for you to test out the fragrance if you heard about it and it didn't even sound amazing to you. This is a very different take on an oud vanilla rose combo. It is quite dark and mysterious. It is different. It is quite different from a lot of the rose oud vanilla combos. It's a combination that I enjoy, that I love. There's a creaminess to this that I don't find in a lot of rose oud combos. It is a bit of a Middle Eastern oud fragrance, but Western trained noses can also appreciate this. It is different. It is creamy. There's something quite creamy about it. I think it's coming from the vanilla. The oud gives you a bit of a Middle Eastern vibe, and then the rose is also a sort of dark, wilted rose. That is what it gives me. It's not a fresh rose or ultra feminine one. It's quite complex. But there's also this smoky, baccarat sort of, feel that I associate with this one. It's more of a complex, yet a very wearable fragrance that is going to cut through the cold. And I highly recommend that you check this one out. It's from the brand Volet or Volari, and this is oud blend, very affordable alternative to the original Oudgasm Vanilla Oud from Lee. You might want to spare yourself the money and test this one out before you commit to the original one. I know, as I said, a lot of reviews were maybe mixed reviews here and there. A lot of people didn't like it. Others also appreciated it. So you might want to go with this one. And I'm recommending this option because I personally enjoy this scent profile. It is beautiful. It is different. It is creamy, slightly, vanillic. It's not the most vanillic fragrance, but it's more on the oud creaminess than the heavy dose of vanilla. But it's still very present, and a very beautiful, dry, sort of red, mysterious rose. And that is oud blend from the brand Valor. So next is going to be a typical mass appealing, comforting one. And this is oud tonka from Swiss Arabia. This is a very beautiful scent, your marzipan, almondy, heavy tonka scent. That is what essentially you're getting from this. It is so comforting and beautiful. It is decadent and thick, very thick and rich and deep. A realistic almond scent, almond and tonka is what you're getting for the most part with a bit of vanilla here. Very little sweetness, but it's, there's a bit of sweetness, but not too much or super cloying. And it's not even going to be cloying because you're wearing it in a much more colder, environment or weather. Oud tonka is so beautiful in my opinion. It's so comforting and cozy. It gives you that, hug in the bottle experience. It is rich, it is decadent, and that is another recommendation. I know a lot of us have already gone through several bottles of this one. If you have never tried this one, this is the season you might want to grab a bottle. And this is oud tonka from Swiss Arabia. From the same house, I'm going to go with vanilla toffee, vanilla coffee. It has a very complex, nuance. If you love sticky dates from Lush, apparently this is inspired by that. It gives me similar nuances as date caramel or Amore Cafe, that sort of vibe. But this is more on the complex side with more of that butterscotch and toffee and creaminess. That is what this one gives me. A very beautiful scent. I love it. Very delicious, very thick. It cuts through the colder weather. People are going to smell you. It's just, it works better when something quite chilly passes around you with a colder breeze. It travels a lot more, better in the colder season from my experience. And this is vanilla toffee from Swiss Arabia, a very beautiful scent. So it's a time or a season that a lot of us would want to, or people would want to pull this one out. If you feel it was too cloying for the high heat, I think this is a season you enjoy it a lot more. So, Liquid Brand Yeah, why not? So this is a very beautiful scent. Your cinnamon, your spice, your orange blossom, your heavy, boozy, vanilla. That is what this one is all about. It's nothing super complex, you know. It's a very beautiful, mass appealing, perfectly unisex vanilla, spicy cinnamon and cardamom and some orange blossom. This is liquid brand. It doesn't need a lot of introduction. It's a very beautiful, projecting, quite loud, quite beastly vanilla, boozy vanilla scent with those, heavy aromatic spices. That is what essentially you're getting from this. So it is a time and a season, although to me I wear it year round. But if you are someone who is a seasonal wearer, when it comes to fragrances, you might want to pull your liquid brands and the other, fragrances out. I think I'm going to do my Gourmand, list for fall, but this is a mismatch of heavy hitters that I feel a lot of people are going to appreciate for fall. So an oldie here is going to be Kaid. I love me a good, Arabian style fragrance. It's quite spicy, the cardamom, the cinnamon, a slight hint of oud and woods, and vanilla and leather. A complex, scent, but very mass appealing. This is Kaid, an oldie but a goodie, as a lot of us normally refer to. Is beautiful, is spicy, it's loud, it's bold. It cuts through the colder weather. It's a very strong, maybe a little too intense for a lot of people. You don't have to do too much when it comes to Kaid. If you are a starter, you might want to mind the number of sprays you do, but this is a very beautiful, rich, deep, dense, woody, leathery, but a very wearable, mass appealing leather. It is not your typical animalic leather, but it's there somehow in a very beautiful, polished way. Some say it's masculine leaning. I say it is perfectly unisex. If you love unisex, slightly masculine leaning fragrances, that gives you that presence and punch, you might want to go with Kaid. So that is going to be another heavy hitter I'm going to recommend for the season of fall. Another one that I love, it's been a while since I spoke about Al Jawara from Latafa, but this is your biscuity vanilla. Although it's supposed to be the note of plum, I wouldn't say it's the most realistic or super realistic note of plum. I'm now getting that slight faint plummy, slightly boozy feel because it's apparently inspired by plum in cognac. That is the scent, and I've not smelled the original one. However, this is a very beautiful scent. It reminds me of a biscuity, buttery, vanillic, feel. Although it doesn't have the note of vanilla, I think it doesn't have vanilla in those. The notes that I perceive are entirely different from what the note structure actually gives, but it's a very beautiful, gourmandy, quite strong. That reminds me of something else I think I will be talking about after this one. It's also a part of the recommendation. It sort of gives me a very similar vibe, but less vanillic, This one gives me, I think I wrote it down. Let me just give you what this one gives me for the most part. It gives me, okay, so the notes in this one are plum, cinnamon, osmanthus, labdanum, musk, patchouli. What I get is a nutty almondy vibe or accord, some biscuity accord, and vanilla, and then musk. That is what I get, or what I wrote down. That is what I get: the almond nuttiness, the accord, the biscuit accord, vanilla, and musk. Although it's supposed to have plum, cinnamon, osmanthus, patchouli, labdanum, and musk. It's a gourmand scent, and a very beautiful, thick, decadent one that is going to cut through the cold, and that is Al Jawara, a very beautiful scent. It's year round in my opinion, but if you go with seasons, you might want to test this one out. Al Jawara from the brand Latafa. Veau Patisserie from Emir Paris Corner is a fragrance that gives me a similar vibe as Al Jawara. Although after this one macerating or both going through some aging, I feel this one is much more fluffy and much more vanillic as compared to Al Jawara, but it gives me a similar vibe somehow. This one is Italica, a duplicate or replica of Italica, a dupe of Italica, and it's supposed to have your cardamom, tangerine, saffron, apple, rose, vanilla, sandalwood, powdery. It's a powdery, spicy, fruity take on a gourmand. I get that tangerine vibe, but it doesn't give me a super realistic tangerine. Somehow it gives me something like a powdery or powdered tangerine. Consider tangerine that has been dried up, like dried up tangerine, those dry fruits, and then blended into a powder. That is a feel this one gives me. It's like a gourmand with a sprinkle of tangerine powder. Somehow that is what it gives me. A very fluffy, thick, creamy, dense vanilla scent with those, buttery. It feels like butter somehow in it. Very decadent and rich and warm at the same time. It feels like very heavy and fluffy at the same time. Character wise, I would say it is dense, but also fluffy and quite lightweight, but when you spray it on, you feel that dense feel, something very thick, and it's a very beautiful scent. I love the way that this one, comes across as gourmand, but not too sweet. It doesn't have a lot of sweetness to it. There's the note of apple and rose and saffron and the tangerine. And what I perceive for the most part is going to be that vanilla and the tangerine. But it feels more like a powdered sort of tangerine with a very creamy sandalwoody, touch to it, and a very good, fragrance that is going to cut through the colder weather for. So that is Vaux Patisserie from Emir Paris Corner. It's been a while since I visited it, but here we go because it's, I think, time for it, And yeah, Souvenir Blooming Bliss from Afnan. I know when it comes to vanilla powder, it's been received with some mixed feelings. Not everybody is a fan of it. I can understand that. It's more on a complex vanilla scent, that coconut, palisanto, woody feel. I think what makes this one unique to me is the note of palisanto. I think that is how it's called. That is the note that really makes this one the most unique to me, with the coconut, vanilla, powderiness, with that floral, nuances. It's a very beautiful scent, not the most super sweet. There's a bit of sweetness to it, but there's this element of sort of bitter undertone that I get, that I enjoy. It makes it quite different. If you love something vanillic, but not your super foodie vanilla, but on a complex side with the coconut that I appreciate. It feels like baked, coconut, something that's just toasted, in the oven. That is a coconut feel I get. And I love that. It's not suntan lotion, although it has a note of coconut. It doesn't give me summery vibes per se. Something like Fasan White from Cadillac gives me more of a summery vibe because it feels like a lot more lighter and fluffier. Whereas when it comes to Souvenir Blooming Bliss, it's more, dense, much more thicker, much more stronger, much more concentrated. So I feel like something like Fasan is more for summer, and then Souvenir from Afnan gives me more of a autumn, winter, vibe, but they are quite similar, scent wise. I enjoy them both, but this one gives me a more appropriate, deeper, thicker coconut, vanilla, palisanto, woody, feel that I think I'm going to recommend for. This is quite complex. It might not be the most mass appealing one. I've seen a lot of people, speaking about the fact that they didn't like the original one or the dupe. I think it is sort of an acquired sort of taste. It feels like an acquired sort of taste, although to me, I think I'm so used to it. It feels very mass appealing in a way to me, probably because I'm used to the scent profile and I enjoy it and I love it. And that is going to be my, another recommendation. It's quite a unique take on a vanilla coconut woody fragrance that you might want to check out. And this is Souvenir Bliss. So at the end of the day, I had to add it. Opulent Red from Latafa. This is so beautiful. I remember wearing this one a few days ago. And how did I end up pairing this one with Alien from Mugler? How did I end up with that? Although it's been compared to Alien, I don't think they smell identical at all. The only thing they have in common is a note of jasmine that I think binds them together. Aside the jasmine, Opulent Red from Latafa and Alien are two independent, you can own both, sort of fragrances. But I pair them and they smelled amazing. Although at the end of the day, Opulent Red overtook the Alien, I still enjoyed that combo. Very rich, cognac boozy, bit of a funk, bit of sting, animalic sort of touch to it, with a very heady, intense jasmine and tuberose, giving it a bit of creaminess. It's quite woody, a little bit of oud that gives it a funk. The jasmine is heady, the tuberose is heavy, and it's also creamy, and the cognac makes it a bit boozy and a bit spicy and loud. It's such a beautiful scent. Yes! Yes! Where? Opedi cancer, remember no. John Church, Charlie said, Imperator, I'll call him back. Charlie says that now I'm making some videos, so please, I'll call them back. Coming from a person who detested this fragrance at some point, I have no idea how it, evolved into a heavy love for me. But it's a very beautiful, loud scent that is doing well, year round. But if you are one that, wants to do your seasonal sort of things, you might want to consider Opulent Red from Latafa. Another heavy hitter is going to be Amethyst, also by Latafa. This is your candied bergamot, with the Turkish and Bulgarian rose and a heavy dose of vanilla with that oud, that's bit of funky banyadi Middle Eastern twist on that atomic rose. It doesn't necessarily remind me of atomic rose by Initium. I think it is a beautiful fragrance on its own, but this is such a beautiful, thick, delicious, jammy, sweet rose. It sort of gives me a Turkish delight sort of vibe. This is so beautiful, so intense, something that really cuts through the cold. Very present, very delicious, and bold and elegant at the same time. Quite spicy. Two layers of rose and the candied bergamot, citrus at the top, and a thick, like a very thick, gooey vanilla. That is what essentially this one is, and it needs no introduction. So to me, I would highly recommend this one, Amethyst from the brand Latafa. Although I have Cadillac Le Prestige Royal in my collection, I would have loved to own a full bottle of Paris Corners Hibisco Nirvana. I have a 10 ml decant of that. I'm almost done with that. But for the sake of this video, I think I'm still going to recommend Hibisco Nirvana, although I have this one. I like this one, but after testing Hibisco Nirvana, I think I enjoy that profile a lot. I have my sample of Hibiscus Mahajad, and I think Hibisco did a phenomenal job at that. This is also great, but if you want something much more thicker and not diluted, because I feel the Prestige Royal feels a little more diluted and something you can wear during the high heat, whereas something like Hibisco Nirvana from Paris Corner is more intense. It has more of that hibiscus, rose, makeup-y, old school vibe. I find it in this one as well, but there's something about that Hibisco Nirvana that gives me more of an accurate dupe to the original one. So although I have a bottle of Le Prestige Royal, my preference is going to be Hibisco Nirvana, and that is what I would recommend that you look into. If you don't have any of the two and you want to just get one, I would say go for Hibisco Nirvana from Paris Corner. I feel it is a better alternative to the Hibiscus Mahajad, vibe, which is a very bold and sexy floral rose, makeup-y, old school sort of feel. It gives me that. So it's a great one for a colder weather. You can wear it in the high heat, but maybe evening times, evening times. It's not super sweet and cloying, but it's quite loud. It's beast mode. It overtakes a lot of fragrances. So you can either go with any of them, but my personal preference is going to be the Hibisco Nirvana from fragrance, not from fragrance, but from Paris Corner. Similarly, if you love the baby cat DNA, but you feel it is too much, too intense, the leather, suede, amber, vanilla sort of thing is a little too intense for you, you might want to go with Mahajan Gold from Latafa. This is a very beautiful alternative in a way. They are not necessarily the same time, although the same thing, although it reminds me of that baby cat DNA. I feel this one is a lighter take on the scent profile with less vanilla and more incense. That incense note you get in there, or accord you get in the baby cat, you get it a lot more in Mahajan Gold, and you get less of the vanilla, but you are reminded of that very beautiful, little spicy, ambery, suede leather sort of feel, and less of the vanilla, but more of that incense. I consider it as more of an incense ambery scent, and it's a very beautiful take on that, very beautiful take on that DNA. I think this one, I don't know which one came first, but this apparently is also inspired by another fragrance I'll put on the screen. And to me, I feel they are in the same vibe as the baby cat, but this one feels a lot more wearable. Baby cat, you might want to wear it in the colder, maybe winter, if it is too strong for you. I wear it in the high heat, but if you are very sensitive, you might want to go with that for the winter months, and maybe something like Mahajan Gold for the more, autumn, beginning of autumn sort of, feel. You might want to go with this one. So this is a very beautiful incense forward ambre, floral fragrance. And this is Mahajan Gold from Latafa. So this is a very beautiful scent. I think this is a perfect year-round, fragrance. And Arabian Scarlet, I say it's just a beautiful year-round fragrance. You can wear it in the high heat. It is not cloying. Now that it's going through aging, it's becoming a lot more sweeter. I think I'm going to give an update on my life after maturation. It's becoming a lot more sweeter. I get more of the sweetness than I initially got, but it has not changed so much. It has not changed so much. I guess that I find it a little more sweeter. It's very beautiful year round. You're getting your dried rose, your cherries, your sort of hibiscus sort of vibe. There's something that reminds me of that hibiscus mahajad, sort of vibe. And I think those fragrances are perfect for the fall autumn weather. So if you have this one, I think it is a good time to continue wearing throughout, autumn. You can wear it year round. And a very beautiful, versatile fragrance. Although I say it gives me more of a dressed up, sexy vibe, I think you can also wear it casually, if you like. So this is an Arabian Scarlet, and I really enjoy this one. A warm, spicy black tea, yet also very cuddly fragrance is going to be Liam Gray from Latafa. This is so good and different from a lot of fragrances. It has a note of black tea. It gives you a very realistic black tea, with the note of fig and cardamom and vanilla. It's a very unique, fragrance. Before I tried this fragrance, Liam Gray, or the original one, I'll put it on the screen. I had never come across a scent that smelled quite identical to this. There's been several other variations or dupes of the original one after Liam Gray and the others. But Liam Gray is such an affordable alternative. It's very beautiful. It's very rich. You get that warm, rich black tea, vanilla fig vibe. It is fig, but you're not getting a summery sort of feel. Although you can wear it year round, I feel it's more appropriate for a little bit of a colder weather where you have that warm, you want that warmth and cuddly sort of feel. It's like a hug in a bottle sort of feel. There's some powdery, irisy sort of feel to it. There's some patchouli. It is quite complex, but also very wearable in my opinion. I think Liam Gray is such a beautiful alternative for fall. So I'll highly recommend that you bring this one out. I know a lot of us already have this one. It is not something that you might need to go and buy, but you might want to revisit or, bring it out now that the weather is getting a lot more colder. And this is Liam Gray from Latafa. And the last fragrance on this list is Desert Love from the brand Haircut Atta, or Haircut Atta, as I normally refer to. This is a realistic, clean, just slightly animalic honey. I used not to get a heavy dose of animalic nuance, but now that it's going through aging, it feels slightly animalic, but very wearable, animalic, honey scent, very realistic one with the heavy dose of some florals. It is a floral, honey, woody, slightly, earthy sort of tone to it. It's beautiful. It's one that you might want to reach out for during this season. It is quite heavy, quite decadent. It is a super realistic honey, but it feels clean. There's something quite, floral and fresh about it at the same time. It sort of puts me in a similar space as something like honeyed fantasy or honey oud from Montal. But this one feels a lot of, wearable, a lot more lighter, a lot more breathable, sort of honey. And that is going to be Haircut Atta's Desert Love. It's beautiful. It's slightly complex. It's not your average, everyday, clean, it's slightly complex with that animalic nuance I'm beginning to get now, and I enjoy it, but it's also very floral and a little thick and heavy. And it's going to do so well in the colder months. And this is Desert Love from Haircut Atta. So these are amazing lineup, that I feel are going to be super appropriate for the colder months of, autumn or fall. And if you have any of these, let me know how you feel about them. Or you have not tried any of them, I think it is going to be a good time to get your hands on them and try them. And that is going to be it for today. And I hope, this video finds you well. You can also transition through winter with these fragrances. So I think, yeah, these are some recommendations I wanted to make for this particular video. And I hope this video found you well. So please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye bye.